Just as like an introduction, a reminder, or just new information, if this is completely new to you, I just wanted to give you my background story on canine functional characters and how I came across them, because I came across them. I'm going to say 100 years ago now. Well, it wasn't 100 years ago, but many years ago, quite a few years ago now, when I was doing my master's. So, when I was doing my master's degree, I was looking at something in terms of biodiversity and ecosystems um, called functional diversity. So, functional diversity was the concept, or is the concept that it's very biological right now, but in an ecosystem, we talk about species richness. So, the number of species in terms of just volume, in terms of species richness, or the abundance of species, the mixture of species in a particular ecosystem, give an indication of how robust and stable that ecosystem can be in terms of recovery, health, functioning, all those different things. And there's a concept called functional diversity, which is okay, we might have, for example, 50 different species of birds in one ecosystem, one habitat, but if those 50 species are occupying the same niche, the same layer of what they serve within that community, then the potential is the ecosystem isn't as strong, stable, healthy, robust as what it could be with those 50 species, but occupying different spaces, different niches. So niches are just kind of ecological terms for animals in species that perform different roles within a particular ecosystem. But as I was doing this work around functional diversity for my PhD, so my master's, there was I kind of stumbled across this concept of functional character, and it kind of has a really similar principle of functional diversity, functional character, or how diverse within the limitation of what functional characters are, how they support this, in this sense, the ecosystem of a social group of canines. So at the time I was doing my masters and I was going off to do a PhD, but my whole belief and focus in life was to be a wolf conservation biologist. I mean, I worked with wolves at some point, but I didn't. The spirit had different plans for me. But whilst I was kind of looking at this concept of functional diversity, I was learning a lot, as much as I could, about wolves in every manner and respect, because I was at uni, I had access to all journals and all papers, so anything get my hands on around wolves. And so I came across a wolf biologist called Dr. Gordon Haber, who'd studied wolves in Alaska in Denali National Park for 45 years. Um, an amazing guy. A lot of his stuff is free to read about online. He has a book out also called Among Wolves, but he, in some of his research papers, he would mention this concept of functional character, and I was like, I'm really curious what functional character is. And so his description was in his observations of working with wolf groups. So there was different wolf groups that he observed and studied, that he turned them having a particular or different functional character that seemed to serve a purpose, a point, and a functioning within that wolf community that provided stability, health, safety, kind of made that social group really strong and robust, um, and solid, for want of a better word. So I was really curious of this concept of how functional diversity then applies to functional character, these differences that we have as individuals that make up a community, and then make that social group kind of healthier and more confident and more stable in that way. And so then I was really curious to just wonder, does this apply to dogs? Because he was talking about wolves. And I mean, wow, there's so much that I talk about and teach that is just this trickling down of from wolf to our, for our animal friends, that domestic dog, because in that nature they are an evolutionary relic, or have that ancient DNA, that ancient ecosystem of what our wolves are and carry. Yes, then within their domestication there are some differences, and dilutions, and also intensities that we can talk about and know about and have to explore. But in its kind of archaic nature and holding of what canine functional character is, I just started to explore this concept more and to see if it applies to dogs, which I've been doing for like 15 years now. And what I realized is that, yes, for me, my belief is that canine functional character still is a thing. It applies to our dogs, and it can really help us understand our dogs as individuals. What I want to share with that, because I know how excited we get around our animal friends, and I'm just the same. And when we're learning something new, or when our eyes make us see things, we kind of get fixated on it, and we make it become a thing, we make it become solid. So then we can start to say things like, oh, because my dog is it's because of And what I really want to express is, whilst as much as I love talking about functional characters, and yes, it is such a um tool and subject and concept that really applies to them, and understanding who they are and their individual needs and responses and how they show up in the world, it is also just a part of who they are, because they are so many things, including the more than canine that they are as well. And for me, it's honoring all of them in their entirety. But for me, yeah, canine functional character is also a thing that I just love to talk about, and I find it's really helpful and supportive, rather than trying to lump our dogs into one thing, or kind of what the textbooks tell us, or what some professionals may say to us of like, well, this is what a dog should be or shouldn't be, this is how they should learn, this is how they should respond, this is what they should like, all these things that are then like just putting our dogs into a box of dog without um unpicking those threads to also look at them as an individual and what serves them as an individual. So when we look at them as an individual, what helps in that nature is understanding our dogs as an individual functional character.